Hello everyone and welcome back to Gregtech New Horizons, and I cannot see where I'm going right now. Alright, so last episode we got ourselves into Thaumcraft. And you know, it took a little while to unlock, but we should be able to scan things as we unlock new items in Gregtech. And speaking of new items, we also built the circuit assembler to allow us to create cheaper circuits. And as you guys know, circuits are used in basically every single machine. Except for the polarizer, which is somewhere here. Yeah, it's turning into a bit of spaghetti back here. And there is no spaghetti allowed on this channel. So today we're going to clean up the base a little bit. Yeah, on the cards for today is a bit of a base cleanup, and we also have to sort our situation with power. So I've been doing some things between episodes here, not too much. I did go mining for about an hour, mainly to pick up things like calcite. And calcite we can use in the mixer here to create wet concrete. Wet concrete we can solidify into light concrete, and then chisel into what you can see in the new floor pattern right here. But I'm not super happy with the way this is turning out actually. Let's talk about it. Actually, maybe we should wait this out a little bit. It is a blood moon right now. And blood moons are extremely deadly around here because this place is not safe at all. You know what? I'm even going to block the doors because the zombies a few times have actually broken their way in here. We had a few close calls in the last blood moon. Alright, so I've been preparing a couple materials during the blood moon, and I would actually like to pick up an extra backpack today before we get started. There exists the adventure backpack, which should allow us to actually combine our sleeping bag that we've been carrying around. It also has some built-in slots for Gregtech tools and whatnot, so it's really useful to have. The only thing is, the quest book here is preventing us getting it since we need the quest for aluminium. And we were able to run the blast furnace for the first time last episode, but we have to do some shenanigans here with the power setup. That is exactly what I'd like to fix this episode, but we're going to do it the old-fashioned way right now and just swap out the turbines. Oh, this is going to be extremely close. I think we've avoided a few aluminium by now, but we should be able to manage this quest. We need 8 to unlock the MV chapter. Getting ready for tier 2, MV. Yeah, that did unlock the next huge chapter here in MV, but I don't think it's a good idea for us to rush just yet. This pack is all about taking things slow and building up your infrastructure, otherwise you're going to be very sad. Like we are right now with the blast furnace. So after processing the candleberry crops and combining with tanned leather, we also have to get 2 of these tanks, an iron chest, and now we can craft the adventure backpack. However, there is actually several upgrades for this. There is actually an ocelot version which will scare away creepers, it's pretty cool. You can also get things like night vision and a cow one which can produce milk, which is pretty funny. The upgrade I'd like to go for though, at least before we kill the dragon, is one with pigs, and I don't seem to see any around here. Come on pigs, where are you? I know I've seen them around here somewhere. So how we ended up over 1,000 blocks away from base, I have no idea, but since we're here actually, I'm going to pick up some of these mushrooms. It can be red or brown mushrooms. Both will work just fine for our needs. Aha, we found them. Oh, look at this glorious valley that we're going to expand into. Not today. This is going to be our future project. I'm a little worried about that thing down there. Oh, there's pigs right on top of this thing. We didn't have to go so far. But yeah, we should be able to upgrade our backpack. Surrounding the backpack with raw pork chop turns it into the pig backpack, which is purely cosmetic, and is also a quest. Yeah, this doesn't give us any additional effects. However, if somehow we're able to get struck by lightning, the easiest way that I can think of is the Twilight Forest portal opening. And normally we would have to craft another one, right? But there is actually a quest if you're stuck inside the Twilight Forest. It should give us a free portal, because otherwise it does cost us 4 circuits, and we are going to need those today. All we have to do is collect a few bits and bobs here from the Twilight Forest. We need some logs, some torchberries. Oh yeah, and also some raven's feathers. These guys are notoriously difficult to find. I did not intend to run around so much at the start of this episode. Okay, don't move a muscle. Today I learned that the Twilight Forest skeletons have 100% chance to drop these torchberries that we need. And they are no match for our crossbow. Oh yeah, we picked up some armor from a villager here. Hey. Oh, there's 2 of them. Probably shouldn't have spoken too soon. Yeah, this guy is tanky. Alright, so we did manage to get the portal generator again. Hopefully we can get this first time. Oh no, it didn't work. It didn't work! And this tree's on fire. Oh, it did work. It just didn't update. Awesome. Yeah, so it turned it from the piggy backpack into the pigman backpack. And as you can see, this thing allows us to deploy our sleeping bag. It has a crafting window, which we can freely craft in. It has space for fluids, so we can store water, and there is some other things you can store in there as well. Could be useful, but more importantly, it gives us an extra backpack, which can be activated with a keybind. And this is meant to supplement our regular backpack here, which is meant for all of our tools. However, we can actually put tools in the tool slot right here, and I believe you can shift scroll wheel and it will automatically pick that tool for you, which is really, really useful. And that also took a bit longer than I expected it to take. But hey, this is GTNH, right? Oh yeah, and of course, the whole reason we got struck by lightning is to give ourselves permanent fire resistance. That's pretty awesome. So this concrete is pretty cool, right? However, I think I might have just found my new favorite block in this pack. This is also concrete, but it's from Railcraft. And I think it's a much cleaner texture, way better for a floor material. The only thing is we sacrifice the speed boost that we get on the other version of concrete, and it's pretty significant as well. But I think the trade-off is actually worth it, considering how good this looks. So you currently joined me a couple hours into this base redesign, and I wanted to bring you guys in to show you what it's like for the trial and error process. As you can see, nothing is really set in stone right now. My inventory is a mess, there is blocks everywhere. I wanted to show you guys the series of iterations this base goes through. I just switched away from a blue and red design, which I don't really feel like works, at least not together. And I also experimented a bit with switching out the basalt. I think I prefer the smoother texture for these pillars. I'm just not sure about having it on the walls and on the floor. So this may also get changed. But one thing I do like is opening up the room. There used to be walls right here. I think removing the walls and adding some sort of barrier is a good choice. I do still really like this blue block. I don't know if there's any way for us to implement it though. Maybe we can try something in the ceiling. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that. That took me forever to do that. Yeah, I've been building here for the past, I don't know, 8 hours maybe? And I think the base is looking awesome. I can't wait to show you guys this. But let me fill the blast furnaces first. I have kind of neglected this for a little while, the past few hours at least. Oh yeah, check this out. We can also make use of our new sleeping bag. Very cool feature right there. You know, it's the little things in this game. You have to enjoy the small wins though, especially in a pack like this. Actually, good news, our blast furnaces are still running. We must have a decent amount of steel backed up by now. I haven't checked our supplies for a while. Yeah, there's 60 right there. Plus another 10 stacks and some change. So yeah, welcome to the next segment. Is this the second segment? The second segment of building with Threefold. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of building here. This is so many blocks, it's way more than what it looks. I think we've run out of blocks twice. I had to go back to that mushroom forest. Oh yeah, and also it's only the brown mushrooms that work for this mist block, which is what we're using everywhere. Yeah, you know, I was afraid it was going to be a bit too grayscale, so I tried to add in some color. I took some inspiration from my FTB Inferno base, actually. And you know, of course, we're using the best colors, orange and blue. It fits the skin and fits the channel logo. It's meant to be. You know, this could actually be our thumbnail right here. Thumbnails is something I'm absolutely awful at. Anyways, I think it was also a good decision to get rid of the basalt, which also brings us on to our first tip of the day. And these are just things that help me out. It might not necessarily help in your situation. However, if you're not happy with anything, like the basalt that we had on the pillars, it's a good idea to change it as soon as you can, and don't be afraid of change either. Otherwise, we end up in a situation like we were in Season 1, where we absolutely hated the base. I could not stand being in there. You know, actually the basalt did manage to make its way into the final iteration here, and it's just that little extra detail that I think the build needs. Yeah, like we can kind of compare with and without it. I think I much prefer with the basalt on the bottom. Which also brings us into tip number 2 here today. Trial and error. Don't be afraid of trial and error. I mean, look how many iterations we went through on this base. I tried out some like cherry wood. I tried some completely different block combinations. I even actually inverted the floor. So I talked about this Railcraft concrete that used to be on the main walkways here, but I actually switched it out with the chisel concrete, which does give us the speed boost here. I would have preferred to keep this, honestly, but I think we had to switch away from the mist that was also on the floor. I think this is a nice compromise for now. Oh yeah, and look who showed up at our door. It's a British zombie. I can't believe I said British and not British last episode. But yeah, when it comes to trial and error, don't be discouraged at how long it takes you. Like this, just this alone took me forever. And it's not even really that much, right? But again, I think it's important to take your time, especially when you're designing things, and make sure that you can have something that you're happy with long term. Which actually brings us on to our next consideration here. How are we going to scale this? That was one of the big challenges that I had when designing this. I've talked about the fact that this room is way too small, and this factory down here, like, this doesn't even service all of the LV machines. And when we eventually expand into the valley, things are going to get like 10x the scale here. Well, maybe not 10x, but you know, the rooms are going to end up much, much larger. So we need to think about how we actually scale this design. So, you know, instead of 1x2 pillars, we could do things like 3x3 pillars or 2x3 pillars. And of course, they would have to be double or even triple the height. But we would still keep the same concept, right? With the chiseled basalt on the bottom, maybe even bring it up 2 or 3 blocks, just because of the height of the pillar is going to go way further up. But it's still a relatively simple design that I think can be scaled, which is important here. And to break up the roof, I was afraid it was a bit too much orange, or whatever color this actually is. It's like copper. It's actually just a variant of mist. It's like the orange variant. This one here. And just to break up the ceiling a bit, I added in the white version. This is mist 3. But yeah, this is also something that we can apply going forward as we expand. Doing things like this, I think, just helps break it up and not have one big flat orange area, which would be way too overwhelming, right, if we have too much of this block. Oh yeah, and we ended up with some dark spots. I almost missed this, actually. Lighting is something else that we have to consider here. There's no getting around it this time, since we're not in the void dimension. The problem is, well, this is GTNH, and we don't really have access to a lot of lighting options. Even the vanilla redstone lamp, I mean, look at this, red alloy rods. There's no need for this, but that's the way it goes in this pack. So yeah, I think we've arrived at something that we can scale, that we're going to be happy with long term, and that we can produce the blocks relatively easily. This concrete right here is actually expensive. Alright, so let's move on to address the situation with our machines. Yep, that right there. Insufficient power. We're going to soft mallet this for now. So, power in Gregtech, how are we going to solve this issue? In GTNH specifically, it's a very complex issue, and lots of different ways and viable options for us. And I think the best solution is to diversify, so that we're not reliant on only one method of generating power. That being said, we are a bit far away from the base right now. What we're looking for is oil. It would be super ideal if we found some in the valley here, within piping distance. Like that one over there. And I'm falling. Yeah, it might be worth to search around a little bit more, but I think that is as good as we're gonna get, honestly. So yeah, we need to start off with a collection method for all of this stuff. And so to collect the oil, we're gonna use the basic pump. Aha, yes, we also need something called mining pipes, which we do eventually get back. They're made from steel. We do have a couple steel pipes here, which we got from a quest reward. And oh my goodness, that was loud. I hope there's no charged creepers out there. So these mining pipes are made in the wire mill, at least until we unlock the MV extruder. Oh, yeah. Power. You know what? I think that's because I did make a battery buffer. It's being charged by these turbines, and these are using the lithium batteries we invested in last episode. This is how we're ultimately going to power the pump. We are having some issues here with steam production, though. It might not be a bad idea to add a few more generators up there, solar boilers. Yeah, I think this is the best course of action, since we do want to keep running the steam oven, and that obviously does require steam. And of course the steam grinders, we'll be running these for a very long time. Yeah, maybe let's just go for like 2 more right now. We'll need some more bronze. 2 more, and then probably some more water tanks to support them. So I ended up crafting an extra battery buffer and some extra batteries. I think we want to implement it on these machines also. This is effectively the same as us expanding the steam tank capacity. I think this is also a quest. Yes, it is. We do need a distillery for our next steps here for the oil. Okay, what we're going to do here is actually move this pipe. And we'll put it down the middle here, since this EBF will eventually be moved. So the potent pipe is going to go into the 2 turbines. And the turbines are going to point into the battery buffer. The dot here is the output side. So we want that facing the battery buffer. And the battery buffer has to face the cable back there. And one other very important thing to mention about battery buffers is 1 battery equals 1 amp output. So because we have 1 lithium battery here, the most that this thing can output is 1 amp. This is 4x tin cable, which can handle 4 amps. So we're only allowed a maximum of 4 batteries on this line. So turbines are 1 each. We're doing 2 amps in and 4 amps out. And of course, I did add some more solar boilers up here. Hopefully the water tank is going to be sufficient. It seems that the water is going to be fine just as it is. I think we actually have throughput issues on this potent pipe carrying the water, but it seems to keep them all full, which is the main thing. Alright, so now we're going to take some of these full batteries, swap them out with the empty ones. And I just realized this is only a machine hull, we actually need to make this into a battery buffer. These are just 4 slot versions, by the way. There is 16 and I think there's 8 slot versions. Actually, no, I think it's 1, 4, 9, and 16. And yeah, look at this, extended mega ultimate battery buffer. That is just crazy numbers right there. We are also going to need some sort of fluid storage on site. We're going to go with a low voltage fluid tank. And I think is also a quest. Alright, we're back here next to the oil. I think we're ready to start pumping black gold. And because we're working outside actually, I don't think this is something I've mentioned before. We need to keep all machinery out of the rain. Any machine, besides the solar boilers or maybe coke ovens, but pretty much every single machine will explode if you expose it to rain. So we do want to make sure we have a roof over this. So we got the basic pump, the mining pipe goes in, batteries go in the battery buffer. I don't know if this is facing the correct way. It appears I only have 3 batteries. What happened to the other one? Maybe I did only bring 3. Excellent, already 4 buckets. It should automatically output to the top, I hope. Awesome, that sends it all into the tank. And just for some added buffer, actually I'm going to add in some fluid cells, some of these large fluid cells. These can store 8 buckets each, and we can put these into the input slot here, and it should fill it once it reaches 8 buckets. Yeah, that's filled the cell, and I think they do stack, so it should add an extra 32 buckets onto the capacity of the fluid tank. So yeah, as you can see here, the mining pipe will deploy all the way down. Oh yeah, look at that, already 3 fluid cells. And the batteries still have a decent amount of charge in them, still 97,000. Alright, all that's left to do now is to leave this place chunk loaded. We've also got some more machinery and circuits to make up for the next steps, so let me do some crafting here. So to start off this round of preparations, we got more circuit components crafted in our machines, and since we upgraded our steam production, it means that we can run more recipes at once. And once we got some machines rolling, we headed out to the Twilight Forest with our mining backpacks, specifically for lead. You know, even though we're just about to hit automatic miners, there's still something very satisfying about doing it manually. I think I might hold on to this hammer for quite a while. Alright, this should be enough lead for the foreseeable future. We only need it for a little bit more fluid pipes. After gathering the lead, I went back to base to process all of the ore, and headed straight back out to the Twilight Forest, this time for limonite. Oh yeah, now this is a glorious sight, look at this. We gathered a full, almost full, limonite vein here. Hopefully we're done digging holes for today though. Alright, back at the base, we should have a decent amount of material here for new circuits. And we can even make use of our new circuit assembler. We haven't actually used this yet. And actually, if we're able to get some more antimony, do we have any of that? Antimony and tin in the alloy smelter, that shouldn't be in there. Yeah, antimony plus tin should give us solder and alloy. And we need 1 of 3 fluids to make our circuits in the circuit assembler. So, you know, it's slightly more... Oh wait, I forgot about the vacuum tubes. I don't think we have any of those made up. It's slightly more machine processing, but it works out much cheaper. We get 10 solder and alloy, which we're going to fluid extract. Yeah, I completely forgot about these vacuum tubes here. These are going to take a second. Maybe we have some already, but ideally we want to craft it in full stacks by this point. We have 10. Oh, and there's the extra battery. How did it end up in there? I just noticed that out of the corner of my eye. I don't know how many of you guys spotted that. There's some spare circuit boards here also. Alright, so ultimately what we want to do with this oil is not actually burn it directly, although that is an option. We could put it through a semi-fluid generator, but this is extremely inefficient for the oil to EU ratio. Instead, what we want to do is actually distill it down into light fuel using our distillery. And light fuel we can burn for 300,000 EU. And that's for 1 litre of light fuel. And the equivalent oil is only 40,000 EU. So it's definitely worth us processing this oil before we burn it off for fuel. Or for power, sorry. Yeah, let me fix up the lack of resources here. We should have our limonite already processed. Almost. Okay, now this you could argue is even better than mining. Even more satisfying than mining. We got 1 stack of vacuum tubes, 2 stacks of resistors, 1 stack of circuit boards, and 1 stack of red alloy. Plus some solar and alloy fluid is going to give us some electronic circuits. Oh nice, this is going to be awesome. We need a bit more solar and alloy here. Alright, so using some of those circuits, we're going to build a few more machines. We're going to make 1 more steam turbine. I think this will be the last one we make. We are going to make a centrifuge. Oh, we're out of machine hulls. 1 LV centrifuge. We are going to make a chemical reactor. I don't know why I keep making one hull at a time. Let's do 3. We're going to need more of these things eventually, right? Yeah, just 1 chemical reactor. We'll save the rest of the components. And is that us? We have another battery buffer here. Yeah, I think the last thing we need is one more LV distillery. We could actually do with some more fluid tanks. It's not always a bad idea to build in buffers where you can. Hello, spider. Yeah, we can build a handful of ultra-low voltage fluid tanks. Okay, this is not exactly going to be ideal. We'll put it over this side of the factory next to our EBF. But just keep in mind, this isn't the final form of our fuel setup. We are going to have a fuel factory, so to say. A power facility, but right now we need access to the steam, and it's not very easy to get elsewhere because of the lack of biome humidity. And sure, there is actually some Thermcraft tanks which we could have used to make steam elsewhere, but honestly I think it's easier just building it here and then we can move it elsewhere. And besides, it's going to be much easier to transfer and also switch to this new fuel system if it's nearby. I'm trying to think though, is this the way we want to do it? I think we want to go vertical with this. Yeah, something like this. This is going to be our input for oil. I knew I was missing something. We need 2 LV pumps. We can set these on the top side and the bottom side of these distilleries. Access with a screwdriver. Oh, actually no. It's shift right click in this version. We want this on import, and the pump will pull from the tank into the distillery. We're going to have to power both of these machines, which we can do from the back. I need the wire cutters. There's so much running back and forward. This is where the concrete comes in. This is where the concrete comes in huge. You know what? Actually, we'll move this over to the left one block. I don't know how nice of a decision it was for me to try and build this on camera. There might be a massive cut here. We'll see. Also, I can hear some shenanigans going on outside. I have no idea what it is. You hear that? I have no idea what that is. Alright, we are back here at the oil, and it appears it has stopped itself. Every space here where the mining pipe is used to be an oil source block, and it's either run out of mining pipe or run out of range on the pump. So what we're going to do is actually just lower the whole pump system. I think all the way up there is like Y96, and we're down at Y49. It appears we've reached the bottom. This one down here is the bottom pipe. Yeah, and there's still oil beneath us here. Normally it does open up into a massive pool under there, but I'm not up for jumping in oil because that is one way to instantly die. Well, I don't think you'll actually die, but you basically can't move, so it's not a good idea. But we should just be able to do the exact same setup here, and I have a feeling we'll be back at this pump a few times, at least until we're able to upgrade it. Alright, so we are once again back at the base here. I fixed the pump system. Grab some more oil, and we've built our new fueling system here, or fuel production system. Oil refinement system, I don't know what you want to call it, something. So I actually decided to flip it around somewhat, and everything here meets in the middle, basically. So we are going to start over here on the right hand side. This fluid tank here is the input for oil. We should have a pump on the oil tank, which pushes it into the distillery, distills on circuit 2, and this turns it into sulfuric light fuel. But we have to desulfurize this, basically, and turn it into regular light fuel, right? And there's actually 2 reasons why we build a buffer tank here. The first reason is that, well, building buffers in your systems is a very good idea. And the second is so that we can fill it inside fluid cells. So we put empty cells in this fluid tank, it's going to put it into sulfuric light fuel cells. Very loud machine. Oh yeah, I remembered that I made some muffler upgrades. These things. Makes machines silent. This is exactly what we need. We're going to stick it on all of these machines. The only downside to doing this is that you don't hear them when they're out of power, but the solution to that is just make sure you have enough power. So yeah, once the fluid tank fills the cell, it then has a conveyor module on top, which is effectively acts like the pump, but it converts items, and that sends it on this tin item pipe up top, pushes it inside the chemical reactor where it gets reacted with hydrogen. And there's no way to combine 2 different gases inside a chemical reactor without the multi-block version. So one of them always has to be inside fluid cells for it to react. So how do we get the hydrogen, you might be asking? Well, that is where our trip to the Twilight Forest comes in with the yellow and brown limonite dust. We can put this through a centrifuge with some empty cells, and this should give us iron dust, oxygen cells, and hydrogen. And it's out of power. I think that's because I took the batteries out here to refill the pump. Yeah, there's only one left in there. But why is this not getting power? Hold on a second. Oh, maybe it's cable loss? It could be cable loss because the battery buffer is up there. And the centrifuge recipe is, well, it's only 10 EU per tick. I knew there was going to be some troubles with this system. I didn't expect it to be so early though. Okay, what is going on here? Yeah, so right now we have 2 steam turbines going into this cable, which goes into the battery buffer. Oh, you know what? Maybe it's because it's running this distillery also, and it just doesn't have enough to power both at once because there's only one battery. And as we saw earlier, one battery equals 1 amp output, and that combined with the cable loss must not be enough power to send it all the way to this machine. Hopefully it should work now if we turn it back on. Once it fills the internal buffer, yeah, I think that's what it is. And also we have a conveyor module on the bottom here to send the iron dust and the oxygen cells into this drawer. And then we're going to fluid automatic output into this pipe, which distributes it between 2 chemical reactors. And then coming back to the sulfuric light fuel cells, which come from the distillery, that reacts with hydrogen to give us the regular light fuel, and this desulfurizes it. But also in this recipe we get a byproduct of hydrogen sulfide, which we're basically just storing in this tank here. I think there's pumps on the bottom. One other thing about automatic output on machines is that you can only automatically output to one side. So because we're going to automatically output to the right hand side for the item cells, we need a way to send the hydrogen sulfide down, which is the reason for the extra pump on the bottom of the machine. So I think the quest was for 48 cells. Oh, it's sulfuric cells. We need 48 sulfuric cells. Well, maybe let's disable these machines. We shouldn't have converted it all into light fuel. You know, we should really just make some more empty cells. Okay, I sorted it out. We should have enough cells here. We're just waiting on the distillery distilling enough, and we should be able to pick up our quest. But you might be wondering what the bottom row of machines here is for. Well, I decided to go the extra mile with this setup actually, and make sure we could future-proof it a bit more. So you see all this black ore that's around here? This is oil sands, and oil sands is basically just oil. We were fortunate enough to base right inside a vein, so we have quite a few ores here, which is also a quest. We are going to start processing this. I believe we should have some already somewhere. Oh yeah, of course, yeah. No, the reason we don't have any is because this is exactly how we process it. So oil sands ore can only be centrifuged, and this will give us heavy oil and sand. I was expecting to find the dust somewhere, but no, we don't have that anywhere. So we are also going to hook up a centrifuge right here, and a barrel to the side. This is going to fill with oil sands ore. We have a conveyor module on the centrifuge, and we'll give it a muffler. So what this is going to do is actually take care of the other half of this quest. Heavy oil we can also distill into sulfuric heavy fuel. And if we use the regular oil that the pump pulls up, then we only get 15 litres of sulfuric heavy fuel. Whereas if we use the oil sands, we actually get 125 litres of sulfuric heavy fuel. So 15 to 125, I would say that's a worthwhile investment to get the oil sands ore. This will be on circuit 1 for the distillery. And this thing will actually not function, you know why? I made this mistake last time. This is actually an MV recipe. Yeah, heavy fuel distillation is MV, as you can see here. We're going to need an MV distillery for this. Okay, do we at least have our quest yet? Our 48 cells? Almost. Not only do we need the MV distillery, we also need an MV combustion generator. This is going to be so much aluminium, look at this. Everything is a step up from the LV components. And we're going to go in depth on this next episode, but I'm just going to quickly get as much of this as we possibly can. We should already have the cupronickel and the steel available. I think we can pick up our first 2 MV machine casings, and we can convert these into machine hulls. This should also unlock the MV chapter. Tier 2 MV. Awesome. Oh, actually, you know what? I just counted out the amount of aluminium we need, and it's like somewhere in the region of 1 stack. And all of it is like 65 seconds each per ingot. I don't think we are going to be able to get this episode, actually. We might be able to get lucky, though, because since we've now unlocked the MV chapter, which is a very big chapter, I'm looking forward to getting into this, we can also trade in some LV loot bags for MV. I think we might do this, actually, and get our first MV bag. Okay, we have a spare LV. Let's do that one first. A book. Okay, game, give us some more luck with the MV one. Sword of the Cosmos. Block of redstone, come on. Yeah, you know, with that terrible luck, I think we're going to end the episode right here. We should be able to get our quest, though, for sulfuric light fuel. There it is. And we also do have a decent amount of light fuel, which we can start to burn. Ideally, though, we turn it into diesel, which is the whole point of 2 of these systems combining in the middle here. And diesel we can burn for even more EU. It's 480 compared to, I think, 360 for just regular light fuel. 305,000. So yeah, it's a significant step up once again. But we are going to need the MV machines for that, of course. Anyways, this episode is, I think, long enough by now. It turned out very long for me, at least. Many hours. This probably took me the longest to make. I'm curious to hear what you guys think about the base. I'm really excited about it, though, honestly. I can see this working out for us long term, especially when we scale it up and expand. And expand we shall. Anyways, that is going to do us for this episode. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next episode of Gregtech New Horizons.